have to hire a new teacher for those 4 people.
Exactly. So then, now
So that
the
saves us-
difference of keeping the program is now you don't get to replace that position with the entry-level teacher. You're replacing that position now with the higher paid teacher.
No. Those 4 positions just go away. We don't replace them.
I
So-
understand, I just understand, but that Montessori teacher, who probably has a decent salary now, just because of their years in seniority, just flow into that open position that the retirement created.
Correct,
So
that's correct.
That's the cost difference and the comparison that you want to make. And that's how you calculate your savings in the next year's budget. Yes, I don't understand any other way to look at it. It's option 1, option 2. I don't know how you can say that it's any additional savings above that. Because you're gonna save, whether that position gets filled by the Montessori teacher or a new teacher, you're gonna save on the adjustment of salary of the person retiring, no matter what.
So the savings,
So
which we
it's
already have
just
calculated that
not
we truly
hiring
know,
somebody new
is
now.
419,000. All right, now you're saying that out of the 4 teachers that are coming in and say Montessori's cap, for hypothetical, right now, Montessori's cap, you have those 4 positions that they would have, those Montessori teachers would have been flowing into, you'd be replacing at a lower rate, is what you're going with. And what I'm saying is yeah, all right, we save $25,000 per one of those teachers. We'll say 25, there's 4 teachers, you're talking $100,000. Well, we're taking now, at that point, you have $100,000 to take off that savings, but at the same time, their insurance of the new replaced people, who most people that come in are on a family coverage, which is about $8,000 to $9,000 more, you're adding and offsetting against that. So now you're bringing that down, we'll just say for the sake of simplicity, $40,000 for $10,000 more in addition for health care. So you're at $60,000 is what you're saying that needs to be offset to that. Is that what you're saying? Is that correct?
I think you said a lot of words, I didn't follow all of that.
I get where you're
I'm
going.
saying if
So
you just look at option 1 and option 2, program kept, program not kept. What I calculate as the delta is the cost that a new teacher costs for 4 positions and then eliminating the aides. And I don't know how you can look at it any other way. The other thing I just want to bring up is that the incremental cost of 4 classrooms that are Montessori as opposed to traditional is the cost of 2 aides. 1 aide is shared in Grandview, 1 aide is shared in Bell Valley. That's only $60,000. So if you're looking 4 traditional classrooms versus 4 Montessori classrooms, I don't know that you'll see the same huge cost that I think that number makes everyone think is real.
you're talking the teacher to student ratio is not nearly as much as.
And
what
that's
it is
something to
typically.
consider too, agreed. But that can also be offset with some tuition, which I don't think was accounted in any of the cost savings as well. And that fluctuates year to year, agreed, but gotta consider that too.
And let's keep about tuition, I'm going off of based on strictly what's in the budget, right? So if we wanted to add that in, I mean, it changes the numbers. I didn't budget for tuition for that purpose of eliminating that so you can keep it apples to apples, is what I'm trying to say.
What do you think the risk is of charter school tuition now with the program being eliminated next year? And then how does that factor into the cost savings that you're saying is realized there?
So we would say, what, 10 grand a person? Let's hypothetically say it's $400,000 savings. You would need to lose 40 kids.
Well, it's a 65-kid program, that's realistic. We all live in Montessori.
Well, it's 40 the first, or well, I don't think it would be 40, but
Right, but
it could be 10 the first year, but 10 turns into 20 the next year, 20 turns into 30 the following year. They go up to 8 to 8, that's 9 years. 9 times whatever number we want to pick as your kindergarten increased enrollment year over year.
I agree, but you also got to compound out the savings as well. When you're talking about
And
the
we
fees
did this spreadsheet
contribution.
that does that, so I appreciate you take a look at that and factor that in.
We are, and one of the things I said to the board, because I took a look at the email that Mr.
Mark.
I can't think of his name, Mark, put out there. There's assumptions in there. We can assume all kinds of things, and that's part of the difficulty with all of this, is that nobody really knows. You can make the numbers work a certain way, we can make the numbers work a certain way, and that's really not the intent. The issue is, at some point, the state is going to have to address the funding piece, and when is that going to happen? And for me, I would agree that there is some risk for the district in the long run with this. I would agree with that. But I can't predict what's going to happen 3 years down the road, which is where I think the lines crossed about 2018 or 19 when he felt that we would start to lose money. That's a possibility, but it's not a given all of the other things that are going on. It's also a possibility that we could come up with a fair funding formula that would make it more equitable for us to be okay and not try to keep our kids here or run our own program and let the Montessori expand and do what they're going to do. That could happen too. So it's not an exact science, and I
that's why
will
you
give you
built
the
the
fact that it's a
calculator
bit
the
of a
way you
risk.
did. Exactly to your point, so you could test your own assumptions, because you're right, you can flip-flop it however you want. But I think there's a point, and hopefully everyone sees that. One other question though, with something so complicated, aren't there more than 3 options to consider? Is there
I
option
don't
1.5?
see-
I don't see where you still get a net 260,000 deficit out of all those numbers. I've added them up a few times and it doesn't match. But isn't there an option 4 that maybe takes the sum of option 3, maybe some tax increase, like something in between? Because
Option-
I agree, option 3 is pretty harsh.
Option 3 is take your combination. So it really could be, you're right, you can break that into 10 or 5 different options if you really wanted to. I don't disagree with you, but that's really that's where we're at. Those are the only options that we really see that are feasible in order to cut and balance a budget and still maintain a quality program for the students themselves. I mean, it truly is. When you're, again, I'll go back to that one stat that was provided. When you spend, you're 466 out of 500 districts, there's clearly not a lot of wiggle room for where you can go to cut to make a budget work. And these are just our options. Is cutting the way to go? Again, those are just our options. We can raise taxes, continue to try to raise above the index. That's the whole purpose of this, is strictly to show our options. Not leaning one way or another.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask when this will take place so that I know
That's a good
for
point.
next year?
Yeah, I have the
Well, I'm
timeline.
doing
Yeah,
my
I was going to
budgets.
discuss the timeline after we go through everything.
And when there's a vote, is it going to be, okay, I vote yes for option 1 or yes for option 2? Or is it I vote for each individual thing to see whether that is? Because you said you could mix and match any of these. So
Right,
is each
I don't
one
think
you
we've
vote-
got to that point as a
Oh,
board.
okay.
I don't want to speak with these folks, but we haven't really talked about that
Okay,
and
because
laid it out.
this is concerning to me because you look at this and go, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world. So this one looks pretty good, but this is the end of my world. So I'd like to know that.
Right. Can I-
Option 3 was presented because 2 school board directors asked for an option with no tax increase. That's
Okay.
why that's up there.
Okay,
Also, the tech lease, I believe that's K through 8, is that correct, Mr. Belfrat?
Correct.
I'm sorry, Mr. O'Toole, I'm sorry. And one school board director wants that to go through K through 12, which would increase that cost. So when you start talking about what are you gonna pick out, and where are you gonna go, you're gonna have, there's only 9 of us,
right,
you're gonna have 14 different opinions.
absolutely.
Well, just one other thing I would add to that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Could I suggest option 4? Let's say, for example,
Stand up, please, sir.
let's say, for example, I raise the tax half in tax. So you have 800,000. Then I cut the alternative ad. I think that number itself will become close to what you want. And the least impact to everybody else.
The reason why there's 3, I believe, is because administration wanted to keep it simple for us.
Yeah.
We can mix and match
Okay.
anything that you want to do.
Option 4, they have raised half index, cut the alternative ad.
And that's a great suggestion, and I think that's something we could maybe,
Okay.
consider. But I
Especially
think
with the lease of the building.
one of the, I think the important thing here is these are the options, right?
Correct.
I mean, this is what we have to deal with. So you can mix, match, do whatever you want, but these are the numbers. And we have to figure this out. The timing, Mr. Hall?
Soon.
Here's the timeline. We have a board meeting at the end of the month, and at the board meeting during the remarks section, I was going to ask for you to just discuss where you're at with the information we've given you, not for a decision, but where are you? Are you close enough that you think you can make a